Hello, and welcome to this year's Purim production titled The Purim Perspective.
The Purim Perspective is a retelling of the Megillah, the story of Esther,
and emphasizing, at times, different points of view.
As interrupting the king carries the penalty of death.
While watching the Purim Perspective, please be respectful of the cast and mind your boos, your noisemakers, and your yays.
Please turn the flash setting on your camera off. Not on or auto, off. It's the OFF button.
Please set your cell phones on silent. Don't assume it's already there, actually check. You don't want to be the one whose phone goes off in the middle of it.
There are film shorts, usually relevant to the story, which will play between scenes.
Please direct your attention to these film shorts as the cast prepares for the next scene.
Sit back and relax.
It is with great pleasure we give you the Purim Perspective.
This is the story of Purim, the Jewish festival celebrated each year, remembering the amazing and miraculous events which transpired in the kingdom of Persia under King Ahasuerus in approximately the 5th century BC. This is the amazing story found in the book of Esther about failed evil plans to thwart God and destroy the Jewish people. There are 4 main characters: King Ahasuerus, Mordecai, Queen Esther, and the wicked Haman. These events happened in the days of King Ahasuerus, who reigned over the 127 provinces stretching from India to Ethiopia. At that time, Ahasuerus ruled his empire from his royal throne in the fortress of Susa. In the 3rd year of his reign, he gave a banquet for all the nobles and officials. He invited all the military officers of Persia and Media, as well as the princes and nobles of the provinces. The celebration lasted 180 days, a tremendous display of the opulent wealth of his empire and the pomp and splendor of his majesty. When it was over, the king gave a banquet for all the people, from the greatest to the least, who were in the fortress of Susa. It lasted for 7 days and was held in the beautiful decorated courtyard of the palace garden. Drinks were served in golden goblets of many designs, and there was an abundance of royal wine, reflecting the king's generosity. By edict of the king, no limits were placed on the drinking, for the king had instructed all his palace officials to serve each man as much as he wanted. At the same time, Queen Vashti gave a banquet for the women of the royal palace of King Ahasuerus. On that 7th day of the feast, when King Ahasuerus was in high spirits because of the wine, he told the servants who attended him,
Attendants, bring Queen Vashti to me with her royal crown on her head. I want the nobles and all the men to gaze on her beauty, for she is a very beautiful woman.
Queen Vashti refused to come to the king's order that was brought by the servants. The king flew into a rage. The king inquired, according to the law, what should be done to Queen Vashti because she did not obey the orders of the king. The king's counselors charged that Queen Vashti had not only insulted the king, but also all the princes and people of the kingdom. So they recommended that a new queen be found to replace Vashti, and that Vashti be banished.
So shall it be. Men are the heads of their homes and may say whatever they please. Vashti is unworthy to be my queen. I'll marry one of the beautiful, nay, most beautiful women in my kingdom. Counselors, quick, begin the search for that woman, my future queen.
But after King Ahasuerus' anger had subsided, he began thinking about Vashti and what she had done and the decree he had made.
So, Your Highness, there's quite a shift in the palace.
Oh, I can't believe what I've done, what's happened.
Why, Your Highness, what happened?
Oh, I was so stupid. What have I done? Oh, Vashti! Vashti!
Your Highness, let's start in the beginning.
Okay. Well, it all began when I was a little boy. And even back then, I always thought that there was something different about me.
Your Highness, maybe we should start at the beginning of the other night. What led to Vashti's banishment?
Okay, right. Yes. It all started when we were having a good evening.
Your Highness, this party is truly lavish and extravagant. I hope that no one embarrasses themselves.
Please, Mimikin, everyone will conduct themselves properly. I'm sure you'll have nothing to worry about. And I wish for Vashti to join us in the throne room wearing her crown. Attendants, Mimikin, Harbona, bring Queen Vashti to me wearing her crown so that we may all gaze on her beauty.
Your Highness, she said no.
What? She said no? What? What did she say?
She said,
I do not wish to go to the king's party tonight. I was there last night, and I'm really quite tired.
Well, that's certainly odd. I'm not sure how to take that.
Well, it was more like...
I will not come to the king's party. I was there last night, and I'm tired of his parties.
Oh, she said what?
actually, it was a little closer to.
I will not come to the king. If I come tonight, it will be the last party he ever throws.
Whoa.
She disrespects your authority.
She insults your crown and all of Persia.
And so I didn't know what to do about all this. So I asked my advisors and attendants.
If the queen can treat the king in this way, then every wife can subvert her husband in Persia. This will be chaos. Vashti must be severely punished. You must banish her and replace her with someone who is worthy.
And so I had no choice. So be it. Let it be written that every man is indeed the ruler of his own home and should speak as he pleases. To order!
To order!
Ha! I was brash. I acted too quickly. I'm an idiot. I should have just gone to her and talked to her myself. Oh, Vashti. Vashti.
So, you've been banished, but before you leave, I'd like to hear your take on the events.
No problem. I've asked around, and I think I've got a pretty good feel for what actually happened in the throne room.
Everyone.
Your Highness, this party is incredibly lavish and extravagant. I truly hope that no one embarrasses themselves.
Please, Mimikin. Everyone will behave properly. I'm sure you have nothing to worry about.
Hey, where's Queen Vashti?
Where's Queen Vashti?
Vashti! Vashti! Vashti!
Your Highness, do you really think that it's best?
Vashti! Vashti! Vashti!
Okay,
Vashti!
we'll go give Queen Vashti.
Vashti! Vashti! Bring back Queen Vashti with a crown! Yay, Vashti! Yay, Vashti!
So these two clowns come to my party, my proper party, and try to take me away. I turned them down the best I could. Besides, my legs were tired. I'm a runner, of course.
My queen, the king has requested your presence at the throne room festivities.
Oh my goodness, does he? I must say, I hardly have the energy to be there right now. I was there last night and I am quite tired. I do hope he understands.
Well, the king did request it.
Well, if the king insists. Well, it's not that I don't want to go. It's just, I am really quite tired.
Okay, well, let's keep going.
Well, I think, I can't even, I've lost my balance. I can't possibly go. If I go, I might die, and that would be the last party he ever gets to throw. My apologies. I'm so sorry. Oh dear. Definitely can't. That, ladies, is how it's done.
Vashti! Vashti! Vashti!
She says she won't come.
Outright refuses.
She said what? That's unacceptable. Men rule over their wives with a heavy hand and a closed fist to keep the order. Vashti must be banished, effective immediately. Huzzah!
Huzzah! Brilliant decision, my king.
To men! To men! To men!
And that's how it happened?
Oh, well, there was a little more.
And it's too bad. We're gonna miss Vashti. Her beauty and intelligence, unmatchable. Her wit, keen. Her singing skills, an example of just pure joy. And I know that there's no way that we will ever come close to ever replacing her. Not even ever.
And that's how it happened.
Right. You pieced this together from how many places?
As many as it took.
Let us search the empire to find beautiful young virgins for the king. Let the king appoint agents in each province to bring these young women into the royal harem at the fortress of Susa. Haggai, the king's eunuch in charge of the harem, will see to it that they are all given beauty treatments. After that, the woman that pleases the king the most will be named queen instead of Vashti.
This advice was very appealing to the king, so he put the plan into effect. At that time, there was a Jewish man in the fortress of Susa whose name was Mordecai, son of Jair. He was from the tribe of Benjamin and was a descendant of Kish and Shimei. His family had been among those who, with King Jehoiakim of Judah, had been exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar. This man had a very beautiful and lovely young cousin, Hadassah, who was also called Esther. When her father and mother died, Mordecai adopted her into his family and raised her as his own daughter. As a result of the king's decree, Esther, along with many other young women, was brought to the king's harem at the fortress of Susa and placed in Haggai's care. Haggai was very impressed with Esther and treated her kindly. He quickly ordered a special menu for her and provided her with beauty treatments. He also assigned her 7 maids, specially chosen from the king's palace, and he moved her and her maids into the best place in the harem. Every day, Mordecai would walk near the courtyard of the harem to find out about Esther and what had happened to her.
Hadassah, please. You need to keep your heritage to yourself. It won't do you or anyone any good to know that you're a Jew from Israel. As far as anyone's concerned, you're just a Persian girl named Esther.
Before each young woman was taken to the king, she was given the prescribed 12 months of beauty treatments, 6 months with oil of myrrh, followed by 6 months with special perfumes and ointments. You can get these too online. When it was time for her to go to the king's palace, she was given a choice of whatever clothes or jewelry she wanted. She would never go to the king again unless he had requested her by name.
How to choose. How to choose. The maidens in my kingdom are all very lovely and beautiful, but only one will become queen.
I thought love was only true in fairy tales, and for someone else, but not for me. Our love was out to get me, that's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I saw her face, now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. I thought love was more or less a given thing. Seems the more I gave, the less I got. What's the use in trying? All you get is pain. When I needed sunshine, I got rain. Oh, then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. That's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Oh, then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. Yes, I saw her. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. Said I'm a believer, yeah, 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 yeah. Said I'm a believer, yeah, I'm a believer.
Oh man, Esther is fantastic. And that Vashti, ugh, I am so glad she's gone.
Really? I thought you missed her. You said you'd made a huge mistake.
I don't recall saying that, but come on. You remember how I told you how she treated my guys.
My queen, the king has requested your presence at the throne room festivities.
Well, the king did request it.
Really?
Yeah, I told you that story practically yesterday. Come on, try to keep up. Anyway, I said that women should obey their husbands, and Vashti came by to chew me out.
Wait, what?
You want to treat me like this?
What?
I don't have to take this. Going for a run. I'll be back in 200 miles.
There you have it.
Uh-huh.
That's what really happened.
Uh-huh. I'm sticking with the first version of your story, not the Vashti and the other women turned into crazy hens.
Look, believe what you want. Vashti is out there somewhere running. But Esther, she's perfect, and she's right here.
Your Majesty, it is a pleasure to meet you.
It is, isn't it? Oh, Esther, you've been blessed with such an amazing gift.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Yeah, I meant me.
Oh.
Esther was taken to King Achashverosh at the royal palace in early winter of the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther more than any of the other young women. He was so delighted with her that he set the royal crown upon her head and declared her queen instead of Vashti. And after Mordecai became a palace official, Esther continued to keep her family background and her heritage a secret. One day, as Mordecai was on duty in the king's gate, two of the king's guards, Bigthan and Teresh, became angry at King Achashverosh and plotted to assassinate him. But Mordecai heard about the plot and gave the information to Queen Esther. She then told the king about it and gave Mordecai credit for the report. When an investigation was made and Mordecai's story was found to be true, Bigthan and Teresh were arrested and killed. This was all recorded in the book of the history of King Ahasuerus's reign.
So, Bigthan and Teresh tried to kill the king? What happened?
Yeah, it was crazy. It happened like this.
What's up with you, Teresh? We're just going to see the king.
Bigthan, we're off to kill the king. I'm so excited.
I told you to go before we left.
No, not that kind of excited. Although, now that you mention it.
Now, tell me about your plan to kill the king. I can't wait to get rid of him. He's such a jerk.
Yeah, right. Plan.
You said you had a plan. Teresh, think hard about how you're going to answer me.
Thinking's always hard.
You said you had a plan.
I just wanted to be the guy with the plan for once.
I can't believe this. We just gotta get out of here.
Yeah, and then Mordecai hopped out and took care of business.
Really? Mordecai fought both of them?
No. Mordecai went and told Esther, right? And then she beat them up.
Stop punching yourself! Stop punching yourself! Stop punching yourself! Stop punching yourself! Hey! Where do you think you're going?
Whoa, really?
Yeah, Esther hits crazy hard. Or wait, was it the king? No. None of that's right. Mordecai overheard them plotting to kill the king, so he talked to Esther, who told the king, who sent guards and had Bigthan and Teresh killed. I'm like 82% sure that's what happened.
Yes, that's 100% how it happened.
Sometime later, King Achashverosh promoted Haman, son of Hamadatha the Agagite, over all the other nobles, making him the most powerful official in the empire.
Oh, please, Your Highness, you don't have to bow to me. What? But you're brilliant, sire, and I'm glad you brought it up. I am your representative and the projection of your power across all of Persia. And you're right, sire. It does make sense for everyone to bow to me. Why, to not bow to me would be
showing you dishonor. That's very thoughtful of you, sire. We can't have people disrespecting your rule, now can we?
Haman, sure.
All the king's officials would bow down before Haman to show him respect whenever he passed by. For so the king had commanded him. But Mordecai refused to bow down or show him respect. Then the palace officials at the king's gates asked Mordecai,
"Why are you disobeying the king's command?"
I didn't see anything in writing from the king. Who said it was the king's command? Haman?
You're right. You're right. Maybe none of us should bow to Haman.
They spoke to Haman about this to see if he would tolerate Mordecai's conduct, since Mordecai had told them he was a Jew.
A Jew!
Haman was filled with rage. He had learned of Mordecai's nationality, so he decided it was not enough to lay hands on Mordecai alone. Instead, he looked for a way to destroy all the Jews throughout the empire of King Ahasuerus. So in the first month of Nisan, during the 12th year of King Ahasuerus' reign, lots were cast in Haman's presence. The lots were called Purim, to determine the best day and month to take action. And the month and day selected was the month of Adar on the 13th day, nearly a year later. Then Haman approached King Ahasuerus and said,
There's a certain race of people scattered through all the provinces of your empire who keep themselves separate from everyone else. Their laws are not like those of any other people, and they do not obey the laws of the king. It is not in the interest of the king to let them live. If it please the king, let there be a decree that they be destroyed, and I will donate 10,000 large sacks of silver to be deposited to the royal treasury.
The king agreed, confirming his decision by removing his signet ring from his finger and giving it to Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews.
The money and the people are yours to do with however you see fit.
On the 13th day of the first month, the king's secretaries were summoned, and a decree was written exactly as Haman had dictated. It was sent to the king's highest officers, the governors of the respective provinces, and the nobles of each province in their own script and language. The decree was written in the name of King Ahasuerus and sealed with the king's signet ring. Dispatches were sent by swift messengers riding swift steeds into the provinces of the empire, giving the order that
all Jews, young and old, including women and children, are to be killed, slaughtered, and annihilated. This will happen on a single day, the 13th of Adar. The property of the Jews will be given to those who kill them.
A copy of this decree was issued as law in every province and proclaimed to all the people, so they would be ready to do their duty on the appointed day. The king and Haman sat down to drink as the city of Susa fell into confusion.
So I heard you had an altercation the other day.
You wouldn't believe how rude Mordecai is. There I was, everyone's bowing to me like I'm the king, normal day. Then out of nowhere, Mordecai comes up and is all,
I'll refuse to bow to you.
No, it was more,
I'm never bowing to you.
No, it was, ah! You see? Totally unreasonable.
Have you reported him to the king for conduct unbecoming a palace official?
What? No, why would I do that? I'll just have him and all of his people exterminated.
What?
It's called genocide, buddy. Try to keep up.
That seems a bit extreme.
No, you know it's extreme. It's knocking a drink out of somebody's hand.
Which I highly doubt he actually did.
Yeah, well, in here, he did. So, bye-bye.
When Mordecai learned about all that had been done, he tore his clothes, put on burlap and ashes, and went out into the city crying with a loud and bitter wail. He went as far as the gates of the palace, for no one was allowed to enter the palace gate while wearing clothes of mourning. And the news of the king's decree reached all the provinces. There was great mourning among the Jews. I said there was great mourning among the Jews. You can do better than that. I said there was great mourning among the Jews. When Queen Esther's maids and eunuchs came and told her about Mordecai, she was deeply distressed. She sent clothing to him to replace his burlap. But he refused it. Then Esther sent for Hathach, one of the king's eunuchs who had been appointed as her attendant. She ordered him to go to Mordecai and find out what was troubling him and why he was in mourning. So Hadath went out to Mordecai at the square in front of the palace gate.
King of Ahasuerus has permitted Haman to do whatever he wants, and Haman has given him 10,000 sacks of silver to permit him to have all the Jews in Persia exterminated. Here, take this. Tell her she needs to plead to the king that he saves our lives.
So Hathach returned to Esther with Mordecai's message. Then Esther told Hathach, "Go back and relay this message to Mordecai."
All the king's officials and even the people of the provinces know that whoever goes before the king without being invited into his inner court is killed. That is, unless he lowers his golden scepter, and the king has not called for me to come to him in 30 days.
Esther's message was sent to Mordecai, which he responded.
Tell her I don't like her tone. No, wait. Tell her this. Don't think for a moment that just because you're in the palace, you'll escape when all the other Jews are killed. For relief and deliverance will come for the Jews from somewhere else, but you and your father's household will perish. Who knows? Perhaps she was made queen for such a time as this.
Hathach delivered this message to Queen Esther.
Go. Gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will do the same. And then, though it is against the law, I will go before the king. And if I perish, I perish.
Mordecai went away and did everything as Esther had ordered him.
So, you were telling me that Esther is more pleasant to work around?
Well, yes, quite frankly. Esther is better overall.
Overall? Tell me more.
Vashti was...
Your coffee, Vashti.
Ugh! What is this? Don't you know that 1% is not the same as non-fat soy? What is the matter with you? Were you raised by wolves? I said counterclockwise circles.
But isn't clockwise counterclockwise on the other?
Don't get sassy with me. You're fired.
Yeah, so Vashti was a bit... But Esther, she's been pretty good. She's pleasant to be around. Fun, funny. Except...
What?
Well, there was this one thing the other day. She seemed pretty stressed, so I offered her a coffee. Esther, would you like a coffee?
Oh, yes, please, thank you. No, wait. No, I won't have a coffee. Or anything to eat. And neither will you, or any of you, for 3 days.
So, yeah. Someone isn't going to be offered a coffee much going forward. But
You cannot switch 1% for non-fat soy.
at least she isn't Vashti.
On the third day of the fast, Esther put on her royal robes and entered the inner court of the palace, just across from the king's hall. The king was sitting on his royal throne facing the entrance. When he saw Queen Esther standing there in the inner court, he welcomed her and held out the golden scepter to her. Esther approached and touched the end of the scepter. And then the king said to her,
What do you want, Queen Esther? What is your request? And I will grant it to you, even if it is half the kingdom.
If it pleases the king, I would like to invite the king and Haman to a banquet that I have prepared for him today.
Quick, tell Haman to come to the banquet as Queen Esther has requested.
What is your request? And it shall be granted to you. What is your wish? Up to half the kingdom, and I shall give it.
Your Highness, my request is that you know that we love you very much.
And I want the best for you.
Ahasuerus, this is an intervention. Your drinking has gotten pretty out of hand, and we're worried about you.
Same with the amount of generosity and mercy you tend to show. Frankly, many of us find it sickening.
Finding you drunk in the morning,
Finding you showing kindness,
finding you drunk in the afternoon,
finding you pardoning the innocent,
finding you drunk in the evening.
finding you honoring the rule of law.
We're
concerned.
concerned.
I'm just so sad and touched at all the work I'll have to do replacing the both of you. You're all banished. What is your request? And it shall be granted to you. What is your wish? Up to half the kingdom, and I shall give it.
Your Highness, my request is for half the kingdom.
Wait, that's just a saying. I didn't really mean it.
Well, mine now. And you know what? I need a real man at the helm. Haman, you're with me.
Sweet!
Haman, you're in my seat, old man.
You see, Your Highness, I'm Jewish and...
What? She's Jewish? King Ahasuerus has declared all Jewish people enemies of the Persian Empire. Guards! Have this woman arrested and executed immediately on grounds of treason by heritage.
Wow, Haman, you're putting down insurrections left and right. Great job.
Your Highness, this is my request. If it pleases the king, and if I have found favor with the king, I would like to invite both you and Haman to come to my banquet again tomorrow night, if it pleases the king.
Haman was a happy man as he left the banquet. But when he saw Mordecai sitting at the palace gate, not standing or trembling nervously before him, Haman became furious. However, he restrained himself and went on home. Then Haman gathered together his friends and Zeresh, his wife, and boasted to them about his great wealth and his many children. He bragged about the honors the king had given him and how he had been promoted over all the other nobles and officials. Then Haman added,
And that's not all. Queen Esther invited only me and the king himself to a banquet that she prepared for us. And she's invited me to another banquet that she has prepared tomorrow. But this is all worthless as long as I see Mordecai, the Jew, just sitting at the palace gate.
You know what you should do? You should poison him. No, have him run over with horses. No. Hire a couple of disgruntled palace guards who work at the gate to sneak up on him when he least suspects it.
That won't work with him.
I've got it. Have a gallows built that stands 75 feet tall. And in the morning, simply ask the king to hang Mordecai on it. When this is done, you can go on your merry way to the banquet with the king.
This pleased Haman, and he ordered the gallows to be built.
So, things have been pretty wild. I'm having trouble keeping tabs on everything. Give me a recap. What's going on in the kingdom?
Oh man, you wouldn't believe what's going on. So Vashti defied the king when he summoned her. She was all, I don't have to take orders from you, your lowliness. And then the king was all,
Banish her! Out with the old and in with the... Well, hello.
well, hello, I'm just the prettiest girl in all of Persia. You'd give me half the kingdom if I asked for it, wouldn't you? And then she bats her eyelashes, and the king is all,
well, probably.
And then there are these dudes who are all trying to kill the king. And then Mordecai the Jew, Esther, and the king took them all out. But Mordecai was super cool about it, and the king was all,
I totally owe you my life for this, but I'm probably going to forget about this until someone reads it to me.
And Haman was all, look at me. I'm in charge now. You all have to bow to me. But Mordecai was all, I'm never bowing to you. And Haman was all, we'll see about that, Mordecai. And then when Haman found out that Mordecai was a Jew, he just lost it. He was all the Jews must die. And then Haman went gambling for a while, and then he announced all the Jews would have to die on the 13th of Adar. Then out of the blue, Esther throws a party and is just stuffing her face.
That's all very odd. I have a feeling some of that isn't entirely accurate.
Yeah, no, totally accurate, no doubt.
Doubtful. Anyways, what after that?
She invited them both to a second party. So, hold on to your seats.
That night, the king had trouble sleeping, so he ordered his attendants to bring him the book of the history of his reign so it could be read to him, which would likely bore all of you out of your skulls. In those records, he discovered an account of how Mordecai had exposed the plot of Bigthan and Teresh, two of the eunuchs who guarded the door to the king's private quarters. They had plotted to assassinate King Ahasuerus.
What reward or recognition did we give Mordecai for this?
Nothing has been done for him.
What? A man saves the king's life and is not rewarded? Who's in the outer court?
As it happened, Haman had just arrived in the outer court of the palace to ask the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows he had prepared. The attendants replied to the king,
"It is Haman."
Bring him in. Haman, just the man I want to see. Tell me, what should be done for the man whom I truly wish, nay, desire to honor?
Who would the king desire to honor more than me? If the king wishes to honor someone, let him take one of his own royal robes, as well as a horse that the king himself has ridden, one with a royal emblem on its head. Let the king's robes and the king's horse be handed over to one of the king's most noble officials, and have him see to it that the man whom the king desires to honor is clothed in the king's robes and led through the city square on the king's horse. Have the man shout as they go, "Thus shall it be done for the man whom the king desires to honor."
Excellent. Take the robe and the horse and do exactly as you said. For Mordecai, the Jew that sits at the palace gate. Now make sure not to leave out anything you've suggested.
Haman took the royal robes and put them on Mordecai, placed him on the king's own horse, and led him through the city square, shouting, "Thus it shall be done for the man whom the king desires to honor."
Thus shall it be done for the man whom the king desires to honor.
A little louder, buddy. I don't
No.
think I heard you.
No.
One more time.
Thus shall it be done for the man whom the king desires to honor. Are you happy yet?
Can I get it in writing?
No. I'm going to enjoy killing you.
What?
Nothing?
I thought you said something about...
No, thus shall it be done for the man whom the king is going to kill. I mean honor. Just go. Go.
Afterward, Mordecai returned to the palace gate, but Haman hurried home, dejected and completely humiliated. When Haman told his wife, Zeresh, and all his friends what had happened, his wise advisors and wife said,
If Mordecai, this man who has humiliated you, is a Jew, you will never succeed in your plans against him. Ooh. If you keep opposing him, you will surely fall before him. See ya.
There you are, Haman. The time has come for Esther's next banquet, after you.
So Mordecai had a parade. What all happened there?
It was really nothing. You see, I was walking along near the courtyard, minding my own business. The attendants asked me to go to the king. The king asked for my counsel on how he should honor one of his citizens. I advised him, and he entrusted me to carry it out. It really wasn't a big deal.
Oh, it was a really big deal. Haman was furious and pathetic. He was stomping around trying to get the king's attention. When he finally did, he wasn't able to talk to the king about whatever he wanted to talk about. The king asked him about Mordecai, who Haman hates. And Haman had to throw a parade for him, which was hilarious to watch Haman throw that much of a fit. I'm pretty sure by the end of it, he was thinking some murderous thoughts toward Mordecai and the king.
The king and Haman went to Queen Esther's banquet. On this second occasion, while they were drinking wine, the king said to Esther,
"What is it you want, Queen Esther? What is your request? And I will grant it to you, even if it is half the kingdom."
If I have found favor with the king, and if it pleases the king to grant my request, I ask that my life and the lives of my people be spared, for we have been sold to those who wish to slaughter, kill, and annihilate us.
Ha! Who would do such a thing? Who would be so presumptuous as to touch you?
This wicked Haman is our enemy and our adversary.
Haman grew pale with fright before the king and the queen. Then the king jumped to his feet in a rage and went out to the palace garden. Haman, however, stayed behind to plead for his life with Queen Esther, for he knew that the king intended to kill him.
Esther, please, let's be reasonable.
Be reasonable? With you? You're trying to annihilate an entire race, an entire people.
Just your people.
How dare you! Enough! I'm out of here, let me go!
Esther, please. You people are all the same!
As in despair, he fell on the couch where Queen Esther was reclining, just as the king was returning from the palace garden.
What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you people?
Will he assault the queen in the palace before my very eyes?
As soon as the king spoke, his attendants covered Haman's face, signaling his doom. Then Harbone, one of the king's servants, said,
"This same Haman has set up gallows that stand 75 feet tall in his own courtyard, which he intended to use to hang Mordecai, who saved the king from assassination."
Then hang Haman on it.
So they hung Haman on the gallows he had set up for Mordecai, and the king's anger subsided.
So, Haman's been killed? That's crazy. What happened?
It was crazy and awesome. Remember when I told you that Esther can hit really, really hard? Well.
Please, what are you so upset about?
What am I so upset about? You're trying to annihilate an entire race, an entire people.
Only your people.
How dare you?
Oh, you slapped him hard.
What is this feeling? Let's put you in your place. A hot red burning on the side of your face. You feel the blood rush to your cheeks. Tears start to fill your eyes. Your lips are trembling, but you can't speak. You're trying, oh, you're trying not to cry. You just got slapped across the face, hey man. You just got slapped. It really just happened. Everybody saw it. You're a genocidal maniac. You deserved it. You just got slapped.
Really? Esther sang about it?
Yep.
What happened next?
Oh, wow. Are you gonna cry?
No, you're gonna cry.
No way, buddy. I'm gonna need that ring back. And the guards are gonna take you out, and they're probably gonna rough you up a little bit on the way out.
Haman had set up gallows that stand 75 feet tall in his own courtyard. He intended to use them to hang Mordecai.
Who?
Guys, seriously? The guy who told Queen Esther about the assassination? We had a parade for him.
Oh.
hang Haman on it.
Wow.
I know, right? Crazy day.
No, I mean, wow, is that really your king voice?
Is that really your voice?
Real mature.
Real mature.
On that same day, King Achashverosh gave the property of Haman, the enemy of the Jews, to Queen Esther. Then Mordecai was brought before the king, for Esther had told the king how they were related. The king took off his signet ring, which he had taken back from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai. And Esther appointed Mordecai to be in charge of Haman's property. Then Esther went before the king, falling down at his feet and begging with him with tears to stop the evil plot devised by Haman the Agagite against the Jews. Again the king held out the golden scepter to Esther. She rose and stood before him. Esther said,
If it pleases the king, let there be a decree that reverses the orders of Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, who ordered that all the Jews within your provinces be destroyed. For how can I endure to watch as my family and my people are destroyed?
I've already given Esther the property of Haman, and he's actually been hanged on the gallows because he tried to destroy the Jews. Now, go ahead and give a message in the king's name to the Jews and say whatever you please and seal it with my signet ring. But remember, whatever has already been written in the king's name and sealed with his signet ring can never be revoked.
On the 23rd day of the 3rd month, the month of Sivan, the king's secretaries were summoned, and a decree was written exactly as Mordecai dictated. This was sent to the Jews and the highest officials, the governors and the nobles of the 127 provinces stretched from India to Ethiopia. The decree was written in the script and languages of all people of the empire, including that of the Jews. The decree was written in the name of King Achashverosh and sealed with the king's signet ring. Mordecai sent the dispatch by swift messengers riding swift steeds, who rode fast horses, especially bred for the king's service. The king's decree gave the Jews in every city authority to unite and defend their lives. They were allowed to kill, slaughter, and annihilate anyone of any nationality or province who might attack them or their children and their wives, and to take the property of their enemies. The day chosen for the event throughout all the provinces of King Achashverosh was the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar. A copy of the decree was to be issued as law in every province and proclaimed to all the peoples, so that the Jews would be ready to take revenge on their enemies, and on that appointed day. So, urged by the king's command, the messengers rode out swiftly on fast horses, bred for the king's service. The same decree was also proclaimed in the fortress of Susa. Then Mordecai left the king's presence, wearing the royal robe of blue and white, the great crown of gold, and an outer cloak of fine linen and purple. And the people of Susa celebrated the new decree. The people celebrated the new decree. The Jews were filled with joy and gladness and were honored everywhere. In every province and city, wherever the king's decree arrived, the Jews rejoiced. The Jews rejoiced and had a great celebration and declared a public festival and a holiday.
They tried to kill us. We won. Let's see.
And many of the people of the land became Jews themselves, for they feared what the Jews might do to them.
Okay, guys, we've got an edict from the king. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the Persian state, the right of the Jews, people, to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay, so let's see. Sword, check. Axes, got them. Spears, okay. And what is that?
I take the king's words literally, and I will defend myself precisely according to the king's edict.
I don't understand. The king's edict says the right for the Jews people to keep and bear arms.
Aha! Bear arms!
Oh my gosh. That's not what the king's edict means. To defend ourselves, we need swords, axes, spears.
I don't know about you, but I feel quite safe. Bear arms!
Whoa, guys. What's this? Have you actually read the King's Edict? It clearly says that you need to be part of a militia, which means submitted to the throne.
Not what that means.
And when the king declared these things, he didn't actually mean swords like this. This belongs on the front line of a war, not in civilian homes.
That's not what that means.
Is that not even registered?
No, it's not what that means.
If you really want to be part of the solution, not the problem, then Jewish homes need to be blade-free zones.
Bear arms.
On the 13th day of Adar, the 2 decrees of King Achashverosh were put into effect. On that day, the enemies of the Jews had hoped to overpower them, but quite the opposite happened. It was the Jews who overpowered their enemies. The Jews gathered in their cities throughout all the king's provinces to attack anyone who tried to harm them. But no one could make a stand against them, for everyone was afraid of them. And the nobles of the provinces, the highest officers, the governors, and the royal officials helped the Jews for fear of Mordecai. For Mordecai had been promoted in the king's palace, and his fame spread throughout all the provinces as he became more and more powerful. The Jews went ahead on the appointed day and struck down their enemies with the sword. They killed and annihilated their enemies and did as they pleased with those who hated them. In the fortress of Susa itself, the Jews killed 500 men, and they also killed the 10 sons of Haman, son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews. But they did not take any of the plunder. That very day, when the king was informed of the number of the people killed in the fortress of Susa, he called for Queen Esther, and he said,
Wow, the Jews have killed 500 men in the fortress of Susa alone, as well as Haman's 10 sons. It's amazing. If they've done that here, I can only imagine what has happened in the other provinces. Now, Queen Esther, what is your request, and it will be granted to you?
If I found favor with the king, and if it pleases the king, I ask that the Jews of Susa be able to do again tomorrow as they have done today, and take the bodies of Haman's 10 sons and hang them upon the gallows.
The king agreed, and the decree was announced in Susa. They hung the bodies of Haman's 10 sons. Then the Jews of Susa gathered together on the 14th of Adar and killed 300 more men. But again, they took none of the plunder. Meanwhile, the other Jews throughout the king's provinces had gathered together to defend their lives. They gained relief from all their enemies, killing 75,000 of those who hated them. But they did not take any of the plunder. This was done throughout the provinces on the 13th of Adar. And on the 14th of Adar, they rested, celebrating their victory with a day of feasting and gladness. The Jews of Susa killed their enemies on the 13th and the 14th of Adar, then rested on the 15th of Adar, making their day of feasting and gladness. To this day, rural Jews living in the remote villages celebrate an annual festival and holiday on the appointed day in late winter, when they rejoice and send gifts of food to each other. Even Mordecai recorded these events and sent letters to the Jews near and far throughout all the provinces of King Achashverosh, calling on them to celebrate an annual festival on these 2 days. He told them to celebrate these days with feasting and gladness, to be given gifts of food to each other, and even presents to the poor. This would commemorate the time when the Jews gained relief from all their enemies, when their sorrow was turned to gladness and their mourning into joy. A little joy out there, please. The Jews accepted Mordecai's proposal and adopted this annual custom. Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agite, the enemy of the Jews, had plotted to crush and destroy them all on the date determined by casting lots. The lots were called Purim. But when Esther came before the king, he issued a decree causing Haman's evil plot to backfire, and Haman and his sons were hanged on the gallows. This is why this celebration is called Purim, because it is the ancient word for the casting of lots. Because of Mordecai's letter, and because of what they had experienced, the Jews throughout the realm agreed to inaugurate this tradition and to pass it on to their descendants and to all who became Jews. They declared they would never fail to celebrate these 2 prescribed days at the appointed time each year, and these days would be remembered and kept from generation to generation and celebrated by every family throughout the provinces and cities of the empire. This festival of Purim would never cease to be celebrated among the Jews, nor would the memory of what happened ever die out among their descendants. Then Queen Esther, the daughter of Abihail, along with Mordecai the Jew, wrote another letter, putting the queen's full authority behind Mordecai's letter to establish the festival of Purim. Letters wishing peace and security were sent to the Jews throughout the 127 provinces of the empire of Acheshvarosh. These letters established the festival of Purim, an annual celebration of these days at the appointed time, decreed by both Mordecai the Jew and Queen Esther. The people decided to observe this festival, just as they had decided for themselves and their descendants to establish the time of fasting and mourning. The command of Esther confirmed the practices of Purim, and it was all written down in the records. King Ahasuerus imposed a tribute throughout the empire, even to the distant coastlands. His great achievements and the full account of the greatness of Mordecai, whom the king had promoted, are all recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Media and Persia. Mordecai the Jew became the prime minister, with authority next to that of King Ahasuerus himself. He was very great among the Jews, who held him in high esteem, because he continued to work for the good of his people and to speak peace and prosperity to all their descendants.